Literally, I get a phone call, and it's Jesse calling me, and he said, "You're a sellout, you motherfucker."
Today we are getting weird on the greatest stories never told. My friend Niels Juul is in the house, and he is going to expose the dark underbellies of worlds where most people only see the surface. He's produced movies like The Irishman with Martin Scorsese. He was a founding partner in the brand Von Dutch, which became an international sensation. But today, we're talking about the dark side. We're gonna talk about counterfeiters. We're gonna talk about the things behind the scenes in Hollywood that the friendly advertisements don't talk about. We're gonna go deep, we're gonna go dark. I hope you're ready for Greatest Stories Never Told with Niels Juul. You remember model rockets?
Yeah.
We take their engines and crack them apart to get the gunpowder.
No.
So we put those in the pipe, and if you seal the pipe, it's a serious bomb. But with the pipe just facing up, do like a cool mushroom cloud.
Holy shit.
And so,
How old were you?
15.
Oh my
maybe,
God.
Maybe,
Oh my
maybe
God.
14. I don't know. I was young. So
Yeah.
we did this one, and then the way we'd light it is just throwing matches at it. You know, you can throw a match like
Yeah,
this
but from like what? Like 5 feet away?
Yeah, pretty much.
Fucking A,
And then we're
mate.
throwing matches at it, and it's
Fucking-
not lighting.
Fucking A.
And so my brother goes to look at it, and he just goes boom on his face.
No.
This was one of those like really scary points, and it was like in his face, and his face was black, and I was like, oh fuck, come inside. Are you burnt? Are you burnt? And we brought him inside. We brought him in the shower,
Right.
and we started showering him, and all his hair was falling out because it was all singed.
Dude.
Yeah, I was like washing him, and the hair was just falling out. I was like, oh fuck, we're gonna have to tell mom and dad about this one. Just like,
Oh no, you gotta go. Oh, you go. Shit. You gotta go tell the Pope.
but we ended up not telling him. He was missing an eyebrow, and they never noticed.
Wait, so, oh my God. That's the story. Now I'm gonna interview you. What was it with that fascination with these bomb things?
I don't
Because we
know,
had them
man.
in
It
my
was a
family
big one,
too.
though. Yeah, it was. We were totally into that.
Yeah.
There was this thing called the Anarchist Cookbook.
Right.
Kevin, are you recording this?
It's good.
There was something called the Anarchist Cookbook.
Yeah.
And you could get it on a little disc, a compact disc back in the day.
Okay.
And it had all these recipes. It had like 50 recipes for evil shit. So it would be like how to hack phone lines and make long distance calls, different types of bombs,
Yeah.
different types of pranks.
Because we wanted to do that stuff.
Yeah, and one of those was how to make an exploding arrow. And I had this crossbow. And basically what you do is you take the arrow, which is a aluminum shaft.
Yes.
You fill it up with gunpowder. And then you take a primer, which is like a thing that makes a spark, and you put it on the top of the arrow. And then you put a BB on top of the primer, which is the thing that'll hit the primer, and then you put a piece of tape over it.
Yeah.
And then when you shoot it, and it hits something, the BB hits the primer, which hits the arrow and makes it explode.
You did that.
I made those, yes.
Oh
It's
my
like
God.
making a mini rocket launcher.
Well, hang on. Out of all the things on that disc, how many did you accomplish? Like, how many was there of bad things you could do?
Oh, there was a lot, man. Like, there was 50 something probably.
That would be fun to find that list and see how many
I'm
you
sure
checked
it's
off.
around. Yeah, that would be fun.
Right.
See which ones we have to check off now
Yes.
because we're behind.
Although we shouldn't publish it because there'll be big liabilities.
We didn't. There was this thing called phone freaking.
Right.
Do you remember this?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So
yeah.
we didn't get into much of that. But
No.
But maybe a third of the cookbook was phone freaks.
Well, we used to order if there was a particular dad at somebody girl that we liked that had been horrible. We would order 100 pizzas and all that, and plumbers and things to their house,
man.
right? Didn't you do those?
We did TPing of houses. We didn't do that. Well, have you heard of swatting, where they order the SWAT team to the house?
Oh, yeah.
That's what the kids are doing these days.
That's what they're doing now.
Yeah.
That's a little more serious.
Yeah.
No, we would order literally there was one particular father that not hated me, but he wouldn't let me date his daughter. And it was pretty awful, and he kicked me out of the house. So we decided the revenge would be to order a plumber, a window polisher, and all, because back in the day, people would just show up and do services. So we had their window, we had people come and do their windows.
Oh, wow.
We had a gardener show up. We had so a whole crew of people.
Oh, and they just started doing this stuff.
We start
too.
doing stuff
Oh, wow.
and billing him. So, there were cars and cars and cars of services in the street. Right?
That's pretty funny.
I thought that could go on that disc, couldn't it? I mean,
That could. One of my favorite ones I heard is actually by a copywriter named Gary Halbert.
Okay.
And he said his favorite revenge thing to do would be to go over to someone's house and take a bunch of photos of the outside of their house and of their car, and hopefully you catch them walking out. Yeah. Find pictures of them from around, and print some of those out and print out like 20 copies of these pictures.
Okay.
And then you go to Kmart or something and you get those cheap wallets, and you put the pictures in the wallets. And then in the wallets, you put in a note that says $100 reward if found and returned to, and then you put their address. And then you go down to like Compton or South Central LA and just sprinkle the wallets all around. And then the people would be showing up at the house.
So fucking brilliant.
The wallet.
That's so good.
And they'd be like, hey, where's my $100? And the guy'd be like, well, that's not my wallet. They'd be like, your pictures are in it right here.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That is genius. And it's on such a level of genius that nobody should be offended by that one. That's just clever.
Yeah. That's why he was the greatest copywriter of all time.
What a great prank. On the receiving end of it, maybe after like the 40th person, it wears out. Oh.
Niels, thanks for being on the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Craig.
I have been so excited for this episode because some of the stories you've told me, I repeat, I feel like almost daily. You've seen some weird shit in your day.
Yes.
And I know you started off your career, at least on the American side, basically showing up in Los Angeles with a couple of suitcases and a funky mustache.
A very funky mustache,
yeah.
Like porn star mustache, the one that goes over a little too much.
Yeah, and why not the mustache today?
Because it made me look like the girl from ABBA, the blonde one with a mustache, because I also had long curly hair.
Gotcha.
So the look wasn't great.
Okay.
And I did come from Denmark, dripping wet behind the ear with my mustache.
Okay.
With 2 suitcases of eyeglasses, trying to come here and sell, because I had a sort of ulterior motive plan to go and study at UCLA Extension.
Okay.
Which is the UCLA of the people that can't get into the real.
Got it.
For film.
Okay. That's where they put the mustache people. Yeah, got it. Okay. So you
Correct. Yeah, the mustache people go to the right.
Yeah,
you can only go to night school.
Gotcha.
You're really too ugly for day school.
Okay. So, but that's what brought you to America, was to study film at UCLA.
Yeah, because I had a good career in advertising in Copenhagen. I was Mr. Cool. I was like the madman of Copenhagen. I thought so myself.
Okay.
Except for the mustache. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then I got an offer to go and sell eyeglasses for this Danish company here in LA. And I thought, no. But then I thought, well, wait a minute. That's where all the movie stars are. That's where the movies are made. And I always had a liking for movies. So I thought I could come here and go to UCLA Extension. And then immediately after, I would be picked up as a director.
Gotcha.
Clearly. Because, night school.
Night school. Yeah.
Hollywood top. That's how it goes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Maybe not. But yeah, that was the start.
All right.
That was the beginning.
And was Scorsese doing his thing back then?
He was already there, and he was an idol of mine, of course. And I had always had a fascination for, I suppose, and that's maybe why I had ended up in advertising, because I always have this fascination of the creative process, whatever that might be, but then also turning it into something tangible. So in advertising, working with the best creatives, but then getting it into something that meant something for a product or delivering it on time and whatever. So maybe that bridge between creative and business was always something that I loved. And when I was studying, my liking to film was actually from more like producing or directing rather than acting or, So
you wanted to be the maker, the creator that put the thing together.
The creator, the bridge, right?
Okay.
So between that, but of course it was like a stupid dream, particularly for a guy with a bad mustache.
Well,
yeah.
Now I'm finding out why you're not wearing it any longer. So it's all coming together now.
Yes.
Coming full circle.
Yes, and please don't insert any pictures now if you find them. That would be appalling.
Producer Kevin?
No.
Okay.
You will lose your entire audience.
Man.
You'll get a different
all right,
audience,
all right.
and it might not be the one that you want. That are.
Okay.
But anyway, it's so that was it. And then I started out here, and I was driving around in a beat-up old Volkswagen Scirocco. I don't know if you know that one, but that was Volkswagen's attempt at making a sports car.
Okay.
So essentially it took the same engine that it was in the Beagle or whatever, and stuffed it into a car that looked like a sports car,
Got it.
which is horrible
Okay.
because it goes nowhere fast at all, but it just looks like it.
Okay. So you're out here going nowhere fast, selling eyeglasses?
Yes, yes, door to door to opticians.
Door to door.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
the company has said we have a client list in mind for you, and I said, well, where is it? And literally, the guy pointed at a phone booth. Back then, we had them, and said, go get it in there. And basically, the yellow pages. And I tore out every time I went to a new city. I tore out the yellow pages of opticians, and started going, optician to optician around California, in my non-sports car.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it worked. I mean,
Okay,
bit
so
by bit.
you're paying the bills.
I'm paying the bills, and I'm paying my extraordinary, amazing tuition at the extension of, I think it was $30 per semester.
What year is this?
Oh my God, it's like 1989.
1989.
Yes.
Okay.
The years of mustaches.
The years. Yes. Well, some people were still wearing mustaches.
Well, the ones that didn't get the memo, yeah. yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
By the way, I did live in West Hollywood, and for some reason on Santa Monica Boulevard, it was fine.
Yeah, they really appreciate
People there seem to like it.
Yeah.
A lot.
There's a lot of mustache rides given behind the scenes of Santa Monica Boulevard, and in this interview, we're going to go behind the scenes of different areas. So, if that's something that you want to reveal for the first time here, we're fine to go that direction, or we can go.
Maybe we should skip that part, because what if my kids are watching and my ex-wife, and they're going to go, oh, that explains it.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dad.
Should we jump to Von Dutch?
Well, I want to tell you one little anecdote, if I may.
Please.
Because, I didn't know what was, but the boss, the owner of the company, was gay, openly, and we were, and so he liked West Hollywood a lot. And so he said, you should live in West Hollywood, but he had not told me anything about West Hollywood. And the second night he leaves me there, I got my customer list, and I go down to the nearest bar. And I go and with my mustache, and I'm having a great old time, and I'm first time in America, and I'm literally sitting down at the bar, and the dude next to me says, can I buy you a drink? And I go, oh my God, Americans, they're just so nice. They're the nicest people. So I have a drink. And he goes, can I buy you another one? I go, Mike, no, I'm buying you one. And we're going back and forth. And then he says, do you want to come back to my place? And I go, I don't know about that. And I look around, and I notice now that everybody in there, they're men, and most of them with mustaches. So I was just, okay, it occurred to me, okay, maybe, whatever. But, anyway, but I had
So you were in there, and that was like the bat signal.
the mustache up on the wall.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I loved it there, and that became my home, and West Hollywood was my place and all that. And then it worked. And
well, funny story. Do you remember the company Lyft?
Yes.
When they launched, their logo was a mustache.
It was.
And I think it was a play on mustache rides. I'm not even joking.
You're kidding me.
I think that's what it was.
So that was a marketing meeting that should have gone a little further, shouldn't it? Maybe they should have thought. Do you think I could have been the model for this?
Perhaps. Did you ever dye it pink? I mean,
I didn't live in West Hollywood that long.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened next?
So what happened next is that turns into a career. It turns into offers. I start working for the company selling eyeglasses now in Italy because California worked. Then I got Arizona, Nevada. And then I do the night school. I still study at the extension. I'm learning all about producing. My teacher was John Lennox. And this is one thing I always remember. John Lennox was a producer of Splash with Daryl Hannah and Tom Hanks way back in the day.
Yeah.
The reason why he was teaching night school was that his second feature, where he stuffed all his money into, was called Ishtar, which was Dustin Hoffman and Sean Connery, the biggest flop of all time before Waterworld. And that's why he had to sort of quit producing and teach night school. And he told me, Niels, you're only as good as your last movie. Mark my words. And I go, yeah, okay, because he had lost his fortune on that. But it worked. And then I got offers here and there from other companies. And then I started a new eyewear company here in the US for designers. That worked really well. I did really good on that. And we built a, modern Danish eyewear when LA Eyeworks were first coming around, Oliver Peoples. Eyewear became like a fashion thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then I started actually to like that business because it is actually one of these amazing things where you sort of bridge fashion with looks and whatever, and
Function.
exactly, functionality, and so I started really taking a liking to it, and we launched a lot of like new sort of Danish, Japanese collaboration design brands. We started launching that around the world. That became a career. Now I quit the production thing, but then I fell in love with this woman in Australia, that then became my wife, and I'm a romantic like you are. And so I flew to Australia, proposed to her, moved to Sydney, started business in Asia for the eyewear company, and ended up living in Paris and London and all over the world, doing like international brands and international eyewear companies and whatever.
So this is how you got your start in the international business?
Yes.
Was with this? Okay.
Yes. Basically, I was starting to work in China when it was still government offices, and started businesses for these companies in Japan and all over Asia for years. And it was, I mean, a lot of fun, because it was the early stages, for instance, China, of like converting from government-run offices and businesses into privatization. So these days it's so funny that I still go to Shanghai a lot. When I first started going there, it was all bicycles and an occasional car, and now it's all like Bentleys and no bicycles. So, you know, I've seen that, and then I worked a lot in Europe, I worked a lot in South America, all over the world, in building brands. I worked with like George Jensen and Porsche Design and Cerruti a lot. Cerruti 1881, launching their stuff, and that was great. It became a career. And then one day I got a phone call from my buddy Tony Sorensen, who was a Taekwondo champion, world champion in Taekwondo, old friend of mine from when I lived in LA, and he said, I bought this brand. I bought this trademark. I said, okay, great, congratulations. And he goes, yeah, but it's kind of like fucked up because the trademark is not in order. I invested a lot of money in it. And that was One Dutch. And he's like, I lived in London, and he's like, would you come and help me build it? I said, yeah, maybe. And he said, there's only one little problem, I can't pay you. I said, I had 2 kids at the time and was living in London, and I was like, an unpaid job in LA. And I asked my ex-wife at the time, and I said, what do you think? She goes, are you mental? I said, yeah. And then she goes, and she thought about it, and then she thought, oh, fuck it. Maybe let's do it. And so we packed up.
Oh, wow.
From London, living in a nice St. John's Wood neighborhood, and everything's secure and safe, because in life sometimes you gotta sort of make, I think, like turns and that you're not even ready for, or take chances that might seem a little weird at the time, but we did it.
And what made you believe in your friend or the brand?
Well,
what was it that led you to pack up and do that?
I had actually flown over to see Tony.
Okay.
And I saw they had a tiny little place on Melrose, like a garage basically. And him and Michael Cassell, who was the original actually idea holder or whatever, what they had created was this new like salvage denim look, like James Dean, kind of like 1950s, of just t-shirts, jeans, boom. And it was really cool what they had done. I mean, Tony was a visionary originally with it. He really got it. And it was based on the counterculture of Von Dutch himself, who was, the instigator of that whole, Dennis Hopper, hot rod culture of California, pinstriping cars and whatnot, and living on the edge. And it appealed to me. And so when I flew back and told my wife about this generous offer of no pay, and then come and help it build it, I was turned on by it.
You really believed in what they were building. It was a very unique brand and aesthetic.
Do you know what, Craig? It was.
Were the celebrities there then?
No, none.
Oh,
Zero.
wow. Okay.
Zero. What it was it was real. It was authentic. Mm-hmm. I think what struck me about it was that Tony's passion, because he lived the life. He drove those motorcycles and lived that life. Michael Cassell was associated with all these Venice guys, these hardcore sort of
Dogtown,
yeah. Dude, yeah. What's his name? Sandra Bullock's ex-boyfriend, I forgot him.
Jesse James.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it. Those guys. And even though I was far from it, I was more like a golf-playing, Saab driving car thing. This rock and roll thing and this sort of thing, it just felt very authentic and very real. And I couldn't wait to try and get my hands dirty on it, to try and see what we could do with that.
Gotcha.
Because it was lifestyle that resonated, you know? So yeah, so we moved over, and the same day that I started, Tony had hired a new designer called Christian Audiche. And so, and him and I, we just gelled perfect. It was the perfect like combination of IKEA Danish sort of Lego.
You were the business guy, he was the creative
guy.
guy.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. And flamboyant. And then we had other people in it, like we had Chris, who was our mutual friend, and Caroline, and a few others that came in, and I don't know, it just became the dream team.
And when did it start to make some noise?
Pretty early on after we had started, we started sort of getting like the Metallica guys come in the store, and because again, it was like the first moves were making it as authentic and cool as possible, and it literally was smelling and breathing oil, gasoline, hot rod cars, and all that. And it was really deep counterculture.
They had pants with like oil stains on them. And shit like that.
Correct. It was really like that, and it was. But moreover, it was like everybody that was associated with the brand was really kind of living the life, except me, because I like golf. So,
and mustaches. Yeah, okay. And not biker mustaches.
No.
Okay.
And you know what? I mean, I hate to say it, I did drive a Saab, which got confiscated by Christian and Tony.
Oh, really?
They said you can't fucking drive a Saab.
Parking lot?
Yeah. I swear to God, Tony, on like the first 2 months or something, he said, I'm getting rid of that car. I'm getting you a BMW. I said, all right, well, you can't pay me, but you give me a car. That's fine. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so when did the celebrities start coming?
Well, first...
So you said Metallica started.
Yeah, we had Metallica. We had like the Alice Coopers of the world showed up.
Those type of folks. Okay.
Yeah,
like
the ones that were living it.
Got it.
That resonated with that life.
Got
and
it.
were it.
Okay.
So that they started to come to the store, and we're starting to do really, really cool jeans and whatnot made in LA. Michael Cassell, the original designer, had started doing some really amazing jeans here, local, salvage, you know.
Okay.
And they liked that. And so that's when it started going. And bit by bit, you know, we started having that following amongst the core celebrities that really represented the brand really well.
Gotcha.
And was an extension of it. And so that was it.
Okay.
And then Christian was a genius at anything celebrity. Like, I have never seen anybody, and God bless his soul, because he sadly passed away, but he was phenomenal at anybody coming in that was celebrity. He would just, I don't know whether he emulated their personality or whatever it was, everybody loved him. And he would make everybody feel super comfortable. And one day, she was at the top of her game at the time. Britney Spears walks in because she had heard about this brand. And we had already had Nicolas Cage and everybody else. But she walked in, and Christian and her just clicked perfect. And then we dressed her top to toe because she wanted to be a little more rock and roll, right? So she wanted to be less Barbie. But yeah, exactly. So like everyone, she wanted to evolve a little bit. So we dressed her for the world tour. And then that year she was on the Super Bowl halftime show wearing our stuff.
Wow.
Not a bad advertisement spot.
And your stuff had logo.
Everywhere.
Was the thing, right?
That's
that
the
was
brilliance.
The thing. Was Von Dutch,
correct.
Was
yeah.
The logo was the thing.
The brilliant thing that and I got to give a lot of credit to Christian because he understood the power of the hat. Because, you know, you've put a hat on people, there you go, you're photographed.
Yeah.
And you're just going to put a hat on people, and most people say, okay.
And you can wear the same hat every day.
Yeah.
It's fine. You can't wear the same t-shirt every
It's
day.
fine. I have an anecdote, if I may. It was so funny because we were in Paris, Christian and I, at a fashion show. This was like sort of halfway into getting there. And we're at one of the finest restaurants in Paris, and it's beautiful, and it's him and I, and we have a nice time. And in walks Naomi Campbell with her entourage. And right at that time, Naomi Campbell had been in the press for beating up her housekeeper.
Oh, I remember that.
With the phone or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like bam, bam. And I'm like, oh, there's Naomi Campbell and all that. And she's with like the fashionistas of Paris, right? So, but then Christian says to me, Niels, you're going to get her a hat. I'm going to put a hat on her.
You do that impression really well.
I said, no, you're not. He said, yes. What's this? So he calls, we had these guys on like mopeds
Okay.
in Paris that were doing like shit for us. And he calls one of these guys, and like within like minutes, this guy shows up with a stack of hats. And he comes up to me and Christian and he hands us the hats. He says, "What's this, Niels?" "I will do it." I said, "Christian, you cannot do it. She's going to beat you up. You're going to beat." And he's like, no, what's this? And he literally goes over there. And within, I promise this is true, within 2 minutes, we're sitting with Naomi Campbell and the entourage and Christian, and everybody's wearing Von Dutch hats.
Wow.
And then, of course, he was a genius at it because he knew. So the guy on the moped walks in, takes a picture, off we go. Next day in Paris, Match or whatever, one of those, is Naomi Campbell and all these fashionistas wearing Von Dutch, giving us credibility within the French or Parisian fashion world.
Yeah.
And that's the credit Christian needs to get, which is that audacity to do that. And he did it over and over again. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it was Jay-Z or whether it was Madonna, I mean, who's notoriously unapproachable. He would just fucking put the hat on them. And they would, for some reason, always just embrace.
Really? He just had that charisma.
He had it. He had that charisma. Because he was very, very likable. I mean, he had a gangster element to him as well, but he had just that very nicely flowing personality. He would make everyone feel amazing. Including, by the way, I mean, people working at the warehouse. He wasn't discriminatory that way either.
Were you there when he put hats on Madonna or Jay-Z?
Yeah, all of that. I mean, they were at the store.
They came to the store.
Our store became, that Melrose place, we had a line around the block. We had ropes. In 2002, 2003, it became like a sensation. And we had Saturdays that blew like sales records. I think we would match like the Kids and then Fritz Eagles in terms of sales.
Wow.
We were selling, because don't forget, we sold these trucker hats for $70.
$70 for a hat?
Yeah.
What's it cost to make one of those?
$5.
$5?
Yeah.
And what's a day of sales do at a store like that?
We could do $60,000, $80,000 days.
Wow.
On Melrose.
That's wild.
Dude.
Hats.
In hats and t-shirts.
And those hats were freaking everywhere.
Everywhere, dude. And we had some great, one thing we did smartly, and that's maybe something where I take a little credit, is we, rather than manufacture everything ourselves, because that would have been impossible to grow it that fast, because we wanted, of course, to have bags and all sorts of things. We went to the best makers in LA of anything and said, bring us your best idea for Von Dutch. You get to manufacture it, not license. You get to manufacture it and sell it to us and have it in our store, because now we're going. And we had I had a maker come in, and me and Christian are up there, and he says, "I have this bowling bag." I said, "Bowling bag? What the fuck? A bowling bag?" And he said, "Yeah, it's a plastic bowling bag like that." And then I said, we said, "Okay, well, let's try it." And that became actually our second biggest seller, other than the hat.
The bowling bag.
The fucking bowling bag.
Did you guys call it a bowling bag?
Yes.
You did?
Yes. And we did, so what we did was, because we had to manufacture it in China, and we had a big bowling bag and a little bowling bag, but then we had to sort of pack them all in free for shipping purposes. Mm-hmm. So we did 3 sizes of them. We sold over 1 million of these.
Wow. What did you sell those for?
Oh my God, like $140 for a plastic made in China bowling bag.
That's so wild.
It is, but it was like...
Was it like sequined up and stuff, or just Von Dutch?
No, just Von Dutch logo. Because anything we put our logo on, it would sell.
Wow.
But we, I don't know, there was something about sort of like that popish kind of way that we were doing the logo as well, because we just multiple colors and multiple ways of getting it out there. And we maintained the authenticity still, because we still had the right people. We still had the right crowd wearing it. And we were starting also now to do like, parties and things around the world. And I started, my main focus was international. So we started opening stores around the world. So we opened in Moscow, 3 stores in Moscow,
oh, wow.
Tokyo, Mexico City, London, Paris, everywhere. And we did high-end. I mean, we had a store in Via della Spiga in Milan, like next to Dolce & Gabbana and stuff. So we were right there at where we should have stayed, in my opinion, and that we can talk about that later. But if we had stayed at that level, and if we had been a little less greedy further down the road in the story, it still would have been it would have been $1 billion brand.
Like a Gucci that has that lasting
Correct.
ability.
Correct. It should have.
Gotcha.
At first, it should have been a Gucci that had the lasting staying
Yeah.
power because our price points were high.
Right.
We could have gone right into that premium denim market that was
Mm-hmm.
actually just beginning at the time. I mean, 7 for Mankind maybe were popping up a little bit.
Okay,
Nobody had
yeah.
really touched premium denim, and we had them,
Gotcha.
dude. We had them.
You guys could have been the leader in
Fucking,
that.
we could
That's
have.
the
We could
longevity.
just have owned that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the sort of thing that you regret when you look back in all that shit that happened. Because what happened was that, I mean, I'm maybe going ahead of myself, but egos blew up.
Let's talk about some of that international expansion because that was so fascinating.
Yeah.
Hearing about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, we grew as a company so fast that we didn't know what we had. I was asked before about it, and I equated to if you have a tiger, and now it's your pet tiger, and somebody puts a needle in its ass, and you're trying to hold on to the tail. That's what was. It exploded so quickly. We were, because that internet searches had started at the time a little bit, and there's a company called Styrofoam or whatever that was that measured searches.
Okay.
On their search list, we were number 2 in the world.
Of everything.
Of everything. The only one above us was Louis Vuitton. That's it. So you can imagine every counterfeiter in the world started to come at this brand because we were this little company on Melrose in LA.
Couldn't defend as well.
Are you kidding me? We had no idea what we were dealing with.
Gotcha.
Dude,
okay.
we were like, and also I will also say that sometimes Christian and Tony were a little bit sort of aloof when it came to the business side of things.
Gotcha.
And I will say that I did insist early on that we spend $60,000. At the time, there was nothing. I said $60,000 on a Madrid Protocol trademark registration, which is Madrid Protocol is you can register in one category around the world under one classification through a system that allows you to get it in like multiple countries at the same time.
Okay.
I was voted down. And that turned into be probably $100 million mistake.
Wow.
Because particularly Korea, so Korea is a notorious place for people registering brands. Like if you think of a brand right now, somebody's probably registering it already in Korea. And other places. I'm not
a counterfeiter.
Yeah, so the problem is, because they register it before you do, by Korean law, it's not a counterfeit in Korea.
Oh.
You're the counterfeit.
First come, first serve. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Wow.
In many countries. And so somebody had the foresight in Korea of registering one Dutch a long time ago. I mean, early on. I mean, we had just done a few things. And so Korea became a real big problem for us because we were big in Japan. And we were doing amazing in Japan with like the Isetans and the big department stores out there and had the stores. And a lot of our business, I'm going to say 20% of our business came from Japan.
20%, wow.
Yeah, because Tokyo discovers fashion faster than anyone else. And we were hotter in Tokyo before New York.
Fascinating.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Maybe the coast.
Yeah, it's a LA
Yeah.
Tokyo thing. You know,
Okay.
it kind of works that way. But
Okay. And then so what happened in Korea?
So what happened in Korea, we desperately had to get the trademark back. So my distributor in Japan had said to me, you got to stop this because they were flooding Japan with counterfeits.
Oh, okay.
Except,
They were pushing them all.
yeah, but
into
except in the
Japanese
eyes,
stores and
yeah, but in the eyes of Korean customs and Korean trademark office, it's not counterfeits because they have the trademark.
got it.
So they're legit. So, and in the eyes of the Japanese customs, it's actually now parallel import, not counterfeit. So it was impossible to stop that transport, and it was killing our market. So it was potentially killing like I'm going to say $20 million a year business.
20% of your business.
Yeah. So I tried to negotiate. So we went the legal route. So we went to Kim & Chang, which is the biggest legal firm in Korea, and we spent close to $2 million trying to fight to get it back.
Wow.
In litigation in Korea.
Wow.
I mean, I was back and forth to Seoul all the time.
Yeah.
And got nowhere. And then finally, I actually had Tony come up with me to just try and make an impact politically because we were famous a little bit.
Okay.
So we met with the mayor of Seoul.
Okay.
And we had a ceremony and everything was fine and all that. But, and then we walked around Seoul and there were 8 One Dot stores in Seoul. But counterfeit. They were not our stores.
8 of them.
8 of them. It's like, what the fuck? And Tony, who's like 6'7",
Okay.
former Taekwondo world champion, literally, I could feel he was getting a little irate about it. Like he was getting emotional.
Yeah.
Normally he's a cool cat. But
That'd be upsetting.
Yeah, no, he was upset. He was like walking around Seoul and here's his brand, but it's not his. And they had done like all sorts of product. Craig, I swear to you, they had Von Dutch toasters. They had Von Dutch fucking hair dryers. They had Von Dutch everything. And it was awful.
Oh, wow. Didn't you tell me there was like life-size cutouts of...
No, but that's the problem.
Okay.
So we go into one of these stores, because for kicks, I mean, I laugh at most things. And and Tony and I would laugh at most things. I said, this is also funny, Tony. You got to admit it's funny.
Okay.
All right? And he kind of could laugh, but like, haha kind of way.
Yeah.
But until we go into one of the stores and they have a picture of Tony himself over the register, like a giant picture of him. And he goes, Niels, that's it. I'm fucking kicking their ass. I'm kicking their ass. And he's about to do the whole like Taekwondo shit.
He's actually about to fight him.
Dude, I'm not kidding.
Oh, wow.
And he could kick he could kick a basketball net standing. That's how good he was. No, dude. And I knew that we would end up in jail with this. So he nearly kicked someone's ass and all that. I had to get him out of the store and all that. And then on the way back on the plane, I said to him, I'll try one more time. I'll go out there one more time and contact Mr. Jin. So Mr. Jin was the guy that had taken the brand, registered it fraudulently. And he had, of course, made us some offers because he just wanted cash. But they were like 5 million or 10 million he wanted for the brand.
To sell
The trademark back to us. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because, you're $2 million in legal fees already. What are you going to do, right? Like, okay, you got to get this shit back. So via a friend who knew a friend, I reached out to him personally. And he didn't speak much English. And so he had some people that said, well, come to Korea and maybe we'll talk. So I flew back to Seoul and I'm out there now and they take me out, Jin's people, drinking. Because that's the other thing, like, right? So it's like heavy drinking to bond, the Asian way.
That's what they do there, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And so it's sochu and it's whiskey and it's beer, lots of beer. And now it's like 2:00 in the morning and Mr. Jin hasn't showed up yet. I'm like, okay, but when am I gonna see Mr. Jin? Oh, no, not yet and all that. And we're still drinking. And then they said to me around 2 a.m., they go, okay, now we're gonna go meet Mr. Jin. I go, okay. So I'm thinking office or something, and they go like, yeah, we're going here. And then we go to this building, and it's saunas. It's all saunas. And it's a big thing in Korea. There's like saunas everywhere. And I'm starting to think, this is getting weird. I'm kind of drunk, and I'm now at a sauna place in Korea in the middle of the night, and I'm here to meet Mr. Jin. I wonder if Jin likes mustache guys.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. What do I have to take an extra one for the team here? Do I have to go the extra mile? Which probably would have. I mean, for 2 million, right? I mean, really.
Depends on Mr. Jin.
Yeah, what he looked like and all that.
Yeah,
maybe he would
has
put
a mustache
lipstick
too. Yeah.
Or you put lipstick on or something.
Yeah.
But so we go in and I'm given a rope and I'm told I should go into the sauna, but I should disrobe. So now I'm like literally butt naked and I'm being led into the sauna.
Drunk,
naked, to meet Mr. Jin. And Mr. Jin is sitting in there naked as well. And just one guy translating, and that's my meeting with Mr. Jin. Because that stems from the samurais, right? Basically, they would meet naked. Back in ancient time, they would do that because then you couldn't conceal a knife.
So it's a trust thing.
It's a trust thing.
Show you don't have any weapons.
You have no weapons.
Wow.
I have no listening device. I'm not.
Okay, got it.
I'm not there to kill you or do something.
Yeah.
So Mr. Jin had insisted that when he meets Niels, it has to be naked in a sauna.
Wow, I'm surprised the American mafia guys didn't do that, just
Right?
to avoid wiretaps and shit like that. You know
what?
It makes a lot of sense, really.
It does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It actually does make a lot of sense, but maybe they're afraid of nudity. How stupid is that?
Probably.
Yeah.
But it would be a lot more effective.
Yeah.
How many people have gotten wiretapped and busted
Yes.
because they were afraid of being in a sauna with another
Absolutely.
man? You
And
know?
it's the only place you could do it. That or a swimming pool.
Yeah. So if you're a mobster and you're listening to this episode right now. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I do recommend, by the way, if you're doing it, don't go pee before you go, because when you have to pee, it's a little bit bigger.
Ah. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The more you know. The more you know.
Exactly. So you don't want to go in
Right.
because it's also you got to show your status a little.
Got to
bit.
show the status.
Yeah, you got to sort of not,
Yeah, if you're wearing a prosthetic, a male prosthetic, is that detectable in that environment? That's the question that we're going to answer on the next episode
Yes.
when you come back.
That's definitely
Okay,
enough.
okay. So for
Are
now,
you telling me I should go test it? So,
all right, so you're in the sauna naked with Mr. Jin.
yes.
All right.
So
Translate.
I knew kind of what I was going to offer him as the only thing, because my concern really was Japan, and he cared about Korea. He also wanted Japan, but so then we sat there and we start talking, broken English, and his translator came in at times, and we made a deal, and the deal was simple. I said, you keep away from Japan, and you keep fucking Korea.
Wow. You had to just,
Yeah, cut your losses. And like any negotiation, you got to say, well, my 20% of my business in Japan, if I can stop the flooding there.
yeah, you guys weren't in Korea yet anyways.
No,
right?
we
So it
couldn't
wasn't-
be, because our product, if we tried, would be confiscated
Got
as
it.
counterfeit.
Got it.
You see? So every time we tried to ship anything into Korea, it got burned
Wow.
for being counterfeit.
Literally burned?
Literally burned.
Oh, geez. Mr. Jin's a powerful dude. What's he doing now?
Well, I don't know. I
Smoking
haven't,
a cigar with, like,
maybe
getting fanned with a
maybe
leaf?
still in the
probably?
sauna naked,
Yeah,
waiting for me to show up again.
Yeah. Is Mr. Jin like a Googleable person, or is he shady underworld?
Dude, I
type,
don't
or a
even
little
know
of
if his
both?
real name is Mr. Jin.
Ah, yes.
He's
yes.
clearly part of the underworld in
Yeah.
Korea. The other thing that Mr. Jin could do is he could affect things inside a KAIPO, which is the Korean Trademark Office. Because every time we had a move and the law firm made headways, things would go back. I mean, there was corruption so big back then, maybe to some extent still, that Jin definitely had connection.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't that long ago. This is, what, 15 years ago?
Yeah, something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything that we did on the legal side never really worked, because
Gotcha.
Jin could
'Cause
just
Mr. Jin could just, wave his finger and.
correct, and
Yeah.
he would bribe someone and give them a brown bag of cash, and
Oh, wow,
we
wow.
couldn't compete with that.
Yeah.
Which was in many places the case. I mean, China at the time was the same.
And what's it like for the big brands in these other countries?
Well, some of them luckily are registered.
I
so
mean, I guess you guys were the big back then, but what I
Yeah.
mean is like the brands that are more established, like Louis Vuitton, you always hear about the counterfeit Louis bags.
Well, they spend fortunes and fortunes and fortunes on going after counterfeiters, of course. But some, I dare to say this, some lesser prestigious brands, maybe sort of in that upper mid-tier level, I know for a fact cut deals with the counterfeiters.
Like you guys.
Well, we cut a deal just to stop it and let
Okay.
him be whatever.
Right.
But there were other brands that said to counterfeiters, even in places where they had the brand registered, that why don't you just give us 10% of your earnings on the side, and we call that a license, and keep doing it.
Because they knew they couldn't stop it.
They knew they couldn't
And this is
stop
going
it.
on right now.
Well, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, this is like, the problem with it, of course, is that you have appointed legitimate licensees and distributors in whatever territory you have, who are now being undermined by counterfeiters with this sort of underlining endorsement of the brand owner itself. So it's fraudulent,
Wow.
and it's not cool.
Yeah.
And that was my problem in One Dutch, of course. Our biggest problem also became, as we grew more and more, and counterfeits started coming in from everywhere, into Europe especially as well, from Morocco and Tunisia, was that we had deals with distributors all over Europe each country, we had a distributor that had a minimum guarantee
Okay.
that they had to sell, and they were opening stores. But the markets started getting flooded with all these counterfeit goods that undermined the legitimacy of the brand.
Oh, and then your licensed person can't make their numbers. Because,
How could, no, not only that, but how can you have a store in like Via della Spiga in Milan, high end, right, selling hats at 70, when down the street you can buy it for 10 around the corner. And then
it's like Soho in New York, whereas the Canal Street's right there.
Same, we had that problem. I mean,
you guys were having
I mean,
things on Canal. Well, of course,
we had Canal Street was flooded with it. We
Street.
were the most counterfeited brand in New York for sure at the time, and
Okay.
here. And we had one episode where David Fisher, who was the GMO of Bloomingdale's, said to me, Niels, unless you get a control of this whole Canal Street thing, we've got to kick you out.
Because Bloomingdale's was right next to Canal
Right
Street.
there.
For those who don't
they
know,
had their
New
new
York,
store. They
it's
were like,
right there.
yeah, they were right there. They had their new store, and he was on the way home from work every day. He walked past all that, and it really bothered him. So me and my sales manager, Mark Kanites, we had a moment of madness. We might have had a drink or two, and we literally took like trash bags and went down to Canal Street and started taking these hats. I mean, it was insanity.
Just straight taking it.
Yes, did fucking taking it.
Not even.
No, we're not even like, we're fucking taking it. We had all these like people that were like screaming at us, like, you're stealing it. I said, no, it's our brand. So we're fucking taking it. And we walked off, and then we were chased by, later on, 3 blocks later, we were chased by 2 guys with knives. So we were held up at knife point. It became a big old thing, and the cops came. And,
Oh shit! So they were like, "Give us the hats back," or like,
yeah.
"Oh wow."
Yeah.
And did you give them the hats, or did whatever?
Well, we were stupid, and I'm a Viking, so we're like dumb. So we were kind of like thinking, should we fight them?
It was like a standoff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the cops showed up, and
then the cops showed up, and it was so weird, and the cop didn't really know what to do. I mean, of course, he took the guys with the knives and all that, but it's like, but you stole their hats? We were like, no, it's our brand. He goes, yeah, but it's their hats, aren't they? And we were like, that whole thing. So
weird. Did that go to court or anything like that?
Yeah, well, what actually ended up happening, we actually got hold of the mayor's office in New York and had them start shutting down fabrication in New York. Because in the garment district in New York, they were actually produced, like the way the copy and the counterfeits work in the US mainly is that they will import raw goods and then put labels on it in New York, in like these buildings.
Oh, so it's not necessarily made in China. It's right there.
No, they will they'll take whatever T-shirt,
the hat or the shirt in
whatever
China,
it is, and they would get it sometimes even from the real makers out through the back door. And once it gets in through customs, they will put labels on it.
Oh, so the same factory in China that makes your shirts, they could get them.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then slap a logo. And that's why counterfeits are so hard to indistinguish sometimes.
Correct. Yes. I mean, that's one traffic.
That's one way.
The back door, right?
Okay.
I mean, sadly, later on in Von Dutch's evolution, we discovered that some of the people inside of Von Dutch, inside of the company, had engaged in this kind of thing. So production managers.
Oh, wow. We're just like selling shipments in the back door of incomplete goods or complete?
Both.
Wow.
Both. We literally had people that took bribes. I mean, we had court cases over and over again. And
so this is a major thing.
Yeah, because
I mean, it sounds like Mr. Jin, his whole business. Well, who knows what else the guy was doing. But like he had 8 fucking stores.
Yes. It's a huge business. Correct. You know that counterfeit goods, I think, is second only to drugs in terms of illegal trade.
Really?
Yes. It's a multi-billion-dollar trade.
Wow. So you and I are both watch fans.
Yes.
And I bought a Panerai watch.
Yes.
Very similar to the one you have on. It was the first nice watch I got for myself.
Absolutely. Same.
And I got it from an online dealer.
Yeah.
And I got it, and there was one thing on the watch, the number 6 at the bottom.
Yeah.
In the picture, the 6 connected all the way through like that.
Yeah.
And when I got it, the 6 didn't touch.
Oh.
And I was super scared that I had gotten a fake.
Yeah.
So I took it down to Panerai Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, I just bought this online. Can you tell me if it's real or not?
Yeah.
And the guy said no.
He couldn't tell.
He said, I honestly, the counterfeits are so good that I can give you a best guess. If it's a bad fake, I can tell you.
I know.
But I cannot tell you 100% for sure if it's a real Panerai.
Absolutely.
We can send it to the Panerai factory.
Yes.
And they can tell you 100% once they open it up. but I can't tell you 100%.
No.
That blew my mind.
And a brand like Panerai is so big and so prestigious. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but you're right. I mean, it's literally like that.
Yeah.
There's a company called Label Text that do most of the neck labels and labels in the fashion trade. And they have great programs for anti-counterfeit measures, meaning they put like little silver threads inside of the neck label. Inside of that thread, there's a little hologram. I mean, we're talking minuscule that you could open up, and once you open it up to check whether something is counterfeit, you can go in there and you can see if there's a hologram inside of a thread.
Whoa.
Right?
That's wild.
Yeah. Except that 2 weeks after we've done that, the counterfeiters did it too. They're so fast and so sharp and so good at it.
Really?
Yeah.
They inspect every thread.
Everything.
That's wild.
I mean, I know the counterfeit world quite well now because we had to delve into it, and I was part of raids and things and whatever. I know a guy who told me that in China, some places in China, they were doing counterfeit Hondas.
Shut up.
Counterfeit cars. I swear to God.
That's wild, man.
Right?
That's so wild.
Dude.
I knew of people that were getting these counterfeit Coachella wristbands. You know, Coachella wristband sells for $1,000 or $2,000.
Yeah, I know.
And they would get them from a musician or someone who got one a little bit in advance.
Yeah.
And, you know, if one person can make something, so can another person if you have the same type of tool. And they're indistinguishable.
No, but the thing I will say to people, and I told my ex-wife, because she was a big fan of Louis Vuitton and Dior and all that and stuff, and sometimes when we were traveling, she was tempted to buy like a fake Louis Vuitton bag.
Knowing it was a fake?
Well, sort of like,
save the money,
she was tempted. She was tempted. I said, under no circumstances. Because I've been doing raids with like Thai police, and what you're doing when you're buying something fake, you might be buying it from child slave labor. Some of these places, they have like 10-year-olds sitting there all day long, literally in slave-like conditions.
You've been on the raids?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, because we had to be there as a brand owner sometimes to identify or not, whether they was legit or not.
Oh, fascinating.
So we were part of it. So yeah, and we actually also sometimes had to pay to have the raids done, because for example, in the Thai police, the police combating counterfeits, they're paid double than regular police because they're less susceptible to corruption.
Oh, because the counterfeiters are probably paying them
of course.
regular.
Absolutely.
So you got to pay them double if you want them to.
So the counterfeit police earn much more because then they're less likely to take bribes.
Oh, wow. Crazy.
I know.
And were you in Thailand to shut down Von Dutch counterfeit
Yes.
in Thailand, or is that where a lot of the warehouses and factories
A lot
are?
of stuff came out of Thailand.
A lot of stuff coming out of there also.
So we stopped Thailand pretty well.
Okay.
We busted a bunch of factories there. But we busted factories all over. We busted a big factory here in LA.
So what was it like? Would you walk in and just see kids everywhere? Like, take us through one of the raids that you went on.
It's actually heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because, yes, they would have 10-year-olds sitting, like, lined up, sewing all day long or laundering, T-shirts or jeans, whatever it would. Absolutely scrupulous. Absolutely scrupulous. And so when we would bust these places, they would be shut down. And these kids would be, whatever. But as with everything, they would pop up again.
Start a different
with some other brand.
Yeah, because or something next.
Yeah, because the demand is massive.
Oh man.
I mean, we had one person in the company. He did nothing but canceling auctions on eBay.
Oh yes, we have to do that in my business as well.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Because they pop up, right? All the counterfeits, they pop up over and over again.
Or people will buy our products when it's on sale.
Yes.
They'll buy a ton and then they'll sell it at retail price.
That too, correct. Yeah. We had a lot of that as well. Mm-hmm. And we were constantly on with eBay on that. And we had, and it would flood. It was at a scale that we thought at one point, we tried to sort of assess it through our distributors and friends and whatnot. And I think at our height, maybe sales for Von Dutch, I mean, worldwide, if you took all the licenses in and everything, like on a retail level, we were maybe at like 400 million in sales, which is pretty great.
Wow.
Yeah. But we thought for sure our counterfeits was probably more like 2 billion.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It was flooded.
That's crazy. And is that how these brands are today? Like Louis Vuitton, I don't know what their
For sure.
annual sales is,
For
but
sure.
their
That
counterfeit
probably,
would be
that's
probably more.
Probably more. Ours at the time was
Wow.
particularly high because a lot of it also blended into like with your product where people would like, it weren't necessarily counterfeit because it was backdoor product or people who had gotten access to production that they'd taken out through factories. So it's hard to distinguish.
We had a warehouse guy doing that.
Right.
When the returns would come in,
Yeah.
if someone would buy a 3-bottle package, they'd open one and return all 3.
Yeah.
He'd throw that one out and then he'd put the other 2 where people could dumpster dive.
Absolutely.
And get it to sell.
You see?
Yeah.
Isn't that scary? I mean, the greed is just it's insane.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
in-house.
And we had containers after containers that we busted coming because our traffic that started really being worrisome for us was the traffic that came from North Africa into Europe because it was flooding the market. And the problem for us as a brand, of course, was it was starting to go everywhere into sales channels that were taking the brand down. So it was really suffocating the brand because the legitimacy was falling apart and the authenticity as well. And meanwhile, which is part of the story actually that's kind of funny, is that, so we had like, the story about the invention of Paris Hilton, I call it. I did a TED talk about it because it's kind of interesting and weird how Paris shows up and asks Christian to make her like Britney Spears. That's literally what happened. She's like a famous person, not famous person, but she's a rich girl.
Okay.
Not famous for anything.
Okay.
And she walks into the store in Melrose, and I remember she's sitting and asking Christian to turn her into Britney Spears. That's literally what happened.
Okay.
And Christian dresses her top to bottom in one Dutch and all that, and takes her to Kitson, on Robertson that used to be, or still is. And we had fake paparazzis, like we literally did. We had interns that would like pretend to be paparazzis at fashion shows.
Because that would get more paparazzi around?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd, right? That's like
Exactly.
my favorite
It's like
saying.
the Emperor's New Clothes.
Yeah.
So because Christian liked to be famous, he always said to me, I want to be Christian Dior. I said, okay. I want to be famous. I don't want to be a great designer. I want to be famous. I said, all right. So we had interns literally following him everywhere he went, filming him and taking pictures of him.
Wow.
Because when we went to the fashion shows in Vegas and New York, everybody would go like, oh my God, who's that guy? Oh, it's Christian Audiché. Everybody knows him. He's a huge designer. And that's how it started. So we did the same with Paris. So we took Paris to Kitson. She walks out of Kitson. The interns are doing this.
What? Was she paying you guys? Or?
No, it was just an illusion. It was just a game.
Okay.
It was just
Just for fun.
Yeah, it was just like, because it worked with Van Dutch, it worked with other things. It's just, I think there was guys that were filming about this, like how weird it was, because it was all illusionary. It was all just faking it. But, so she becomes famous, and now she's doing and then she does the first reality show and whatever, and she becomes like a selfie star.
Yeah.
But we were a selfie brand now, right? Because we were sort of also like being famous for being with famous people, and she was famous just for being famous and having a nice ass with Van Dutch on it. Because we did a special jean that had Van Dutch written all over her ass.
So funny, man. Well,
Swear to God.
so you guys created Paris.
Yes, we did.
In a way.
Yes, we did. I jokingly.
So wild. With the fake paparazzi.
Yes.
That's so wild. And she was a phenomenon, man, for a long time.
Dude.
So I used to be in the nightlife business.
Sure.
And the single biggest thing that would increase sales of a nightclub on a particular night
Yes.
would be Paris Hilton walking in.
Absolutely.
That's because all the guys who had tables would start spending more money to try to like show off.
Isn't it funny?
So
you were there at the
weird.
time as well in that world?
Yes, I was. I was in Hollywood. I was a club promoter.
That's funny.
During that time. And there was a funny thing. It wasn't because more people would attend the club. It was if the club is already going, already full. If she walks in, people start spending more money.
How hilarious. We should definitely compare notes, Craig. Because it's hype.
It's all hype.
It's just hype.
Yeah.
And what Christian was so good at was hype. He was the master hyper.
So then, how did the transition happen from Von Dutch to Ed Hardy? You've told me that wasn't by
amicable.
design and
No,
it wasn't pretty,
because
But I remember Ed Hardy.
Yeah.
When I started in the nightlife business.
Yeah.
Was like it was kind of the shift. I actually started, I think,
Yeah.
right when Von Dutch was shifting into Ed Hardy.
Right. Well, that's okay. Well, the story for my personal sake, was that we had a big fight, a huge fight, me and Christian, like fist fight.
You and him?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, more like strangling.
Okay.
Because my face.
Yeah. Didn't want to hurt the mustache. It's like, you respected that at least.
That's fine.
No matter how.
That's fine.
Yeah,
but this can lead to like bruises and stuff.
Yeah.
Who wants to mess with this?
Yeah.
But we had some massive fights because, Tony was there, but sometimes he was traveling a lot and doing things. But I had been put in charge of the entire company now, and me and Christian were sort of running it together, except that Christian didn't know where to stop. And the whole Paris Hilton thing, I was so against it. Because I said, this doesn't fit our brand. She's fucking walking around with poodles and pink bags. You know who's going to vomit? The Metallica guys. They're going to vomit. Alice Cooper's going to vomit. He's going to look at that and say, that shit, I'm not associated with that. Jesse James, literally, I get a phone call, and it's Jesse calling me, and he said, you're a sellout, you motherfucker.
Wow.
Yeah. Those guys cared about Von Dutch.
Wow.
The man, the myth, the counterculture, the whole movement of California hot rod and whatnot.
Was Von Dutch a person?
Yeah. He was the first guy. He dressed James Dean. He was the guy that started that whole hot rod culture.
Okay, and Tony acquired the trademark.
Correct. Tony had the vision to see, that, roll-up jeans like this that James Dean used to wear, like that kind of thing with a white T-shirt.
Von Dutch dressed him.
Yeah. Von Dutch was the coolest cat in LA. It's funny because I'm developing a movie about Steve McQueen right now with the ex-wife of Steve McQueen, Neil Adams. And ironically, Steve McQueen and Von Dutch were best friends. And they would ride motorcycles out in the desert and drink beer all the time. Steve McQueen hated Hollywood. All he wanted to hang out with Von Dutch himself.
Yeah.
Because Dutch was cool.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and he had an entourage of him and Dennis Hopper and all those guys. And they really were the foundation of that cool culture, California counterculture.
Yeah. My dad raced motorcycles with McQueen.
No.
On occasion. They didn't know each other, but when Steve was out there, everyone would know because he was famous.
So he was part of that culture too, huh?
He was doing the desert racing.
But isn't that amazing? Because that was what it was. These guys were desert road biking, whatever, or motorbiking out there.
Yeah.
And just living that life, shooting beers and whatnot.
Yeah.
And Tony actually lived that life. That's why he was legitimate.
Got it.
In getting that lifestyle. He understood that.
Okay.
And so when you then have Paris Hilton walking around with her poodle, what the fuck does that have to do with counterculture and motorcycles?
And Christian just wanted to be famous, so he was all
he
about
only cared
things
about
that
fame.
could get real cameras.
Yeah, and God bless him. He said to me, "That's all I want."
And at least he was open about it.
He was totally open about it. But then I said, then he wanted to sell everywhere, and he spread the brand so thin and so big, and then it also turned out, I have to say it. It's in court papers, but some of him and his friends were behind some of that parallel import shit. I gotta say, it's just what it is. Which made it impossible for me to maintain our distribution level in Tokyo and London and Milan at that price point when they also were selling to us on Sunset and fucking gas stations and Von Dutch shit, and he started licensing out, like we had Von Dutch, I don't know, everything.
Yeah.
And you're licensing out, you're whoring out the brand, you're selling away the brand, you're chipping away authenticity. So that's when we had a big fight.
Got it. Okay.
And then I knew there was shit going on, and there had been counterfeiters coming from within the company. So yeah, we had in Portugal. Yeah, we were at it.
And then he left and started Ed Hardy. Is that what happened?
No, yeah, there was more fights, and it became really, really ugly, actually, like really ugly, because even though Christian deserved a lot of credit for building it, it kind of also became, it was starting to look like a one-hit wonder brand, like the group that had one hit, and now they couldn't follow it up with something, and they had moved away from what they really were.
Yeah. And
so it just started to stink. Plus then, to be honest, lifestyle took over. So we were, I don't know why, but we was, for some reason, porn stars loved our brand. I don't know why. So every party, everywhere we went, we had just so many porn stars showed up. And that became hard for people to also then maintain marriages, the link. The lifestyle became insane. And of course there were drugs and there were craziness and there was excess. And to be honest, I'm not into that. It's just not my thing. I've never tried cocaine. I just think my energy is enough already. And if I did, I think I would just like fly out the window. So I had enough of it. I didn't want to be associated, so I left. Christian had started at Hardy already, and I went and worked with Elmer Fearson in London on some other things and whatever. Oh, wow. So yeah, it was too much. It was too much, and it was a sad thing because it could have been. Wild. So let's shift gears. Okay. So that was wild. Thanks for sharing all that with us.
No worries. I'd love to hear how you ended up working with Martin, because that's fascinating. And the Irishman just came out, and you put that deal together. Yeah. And some of the biggest actors of our time, all in one film. Yeah. But you started with Martin on a different film.
I did. After I had left Von Dutch and I'd gone to work with Elle in London, and it was like turning a company around for her. Which was a surf brand. It was in pretty bad shape, and they had fucked up a little bit. Okay. And we long story short, we did turn it around, and we had it sold and all that. But personally, then I had a problem in stress level, and I was working in the middle of this was in the middle of now the financial crisis, and there was lots of things going on. I was flying around the world. We were trying to raise money for that business and others. And then in the middle of all of that, I had to go to Stockholm to witness in a trial relating to counterfeiters at Von Dutch. Because in Scandinavia, trials take a long time to go. Okay. And this trial was now, I was the crown witness because I had already done witness statements 3 years before at Von Dutch. And I had to go up to Stockholm in the middle of all this busyness and things. And I was just under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure, trying to salvage that company in the financial crisis. And then I end up sitting in Stockholm and having dinner with these people that I'm helping out with this trial, except this is a longer story, I'll try and do it brief, but all the witness statements I had done 3 years ago, or 4 years ago at Von Dutch, about this being fake product, this being counterfeit product. This was a big chain in Sweden that had bought thousands and thousands of Von Dutch t-shirts, thousands, and it was a huge case. Except I had discovered in the meantime that product was not counterfeit, technically. It had come from within the company. Oh. And I knew who had done it.
It was backdoor.
It was backdoor. Got it. From Morocco. So now I actually knew exactly who had done it. But these were Moroccan guys that you really don't want to mess with. Really don't. I'm not saying that in a sort of...
more so than Mr. Gin. These guys...
Much more so. If you ever know Marseille in France, and the connection to counterfeits from Tunisia and Morocco. Okay. If I say Marseille, though there are people there you really, really don't want to mess with. Okay. And I knew that. But I had to go and witness. Oh. But I can't go and lie in court in Stockholm, right? That's Sweden. Nobody lies in Sweden. But I had a breakdown. I literally had a night where I drank, I emptied a minibar at the Sheraton the morning before, the night before I had to go and testify under oath, criminal. Wow. And I emptied the minibar, and I thought I had a heart attack, and it was really nasty, 6 o'clock in the morning. I have heart thingies going and all that.
Shit. And you got to be in court that day.
I got to be in court at 9 a.m.
Oh, wow.
I'm super drunk, and I'm out of it. And I remember, because my thing about everything to rescue me for sanity or to keep calm, I go running. It's February in Stockholm. It's minus 1 million degrees. I go running, and I go and get some aspirins and things, and it's just a mess. I'm a mess. And I just knew I couldn't go. I didn't want to go testify. So then I thought I had a heart attack. I crashed in the middle of the lobby in Stockholm and at the Sheraton. Create a big scene.
Oh wow!
I know it's a movie scene. And then first the cops came, and I'm thinking, oh shit, am I getting arrested? And I might have launched out a little bit after a cop, maybe. Oh, I know. No, that's not so good in Sweden or anywhere. And then the ambulance came, and I'm being taken in an ambulance to a hospital because they think I had a heart attack. It turns out I don't. It's just a burst of whatever. And of all the people that picked me up from the hospital is that cop I had launched at. And then he says, we don't know what to do with you. You were supposed to be in court. They had heard I was there. And then they end up taking me to a place to just put me to sleep. And I sleep for like 24 hours under an injection. And then I'm in a hospital in Stockholm for a week.
Like, oh, damn.
Hitting bottom.
Wow.
Bottom. Really out of it. And then bit by bit, sort of I come back to LA after a few months and whatever, and I have to rebuild my life. And after 4 months of that, sitting in my backyard here in LA at my house, thinking, now what? I get a phone call from Italy. This company that had been in trouble, Italian-American film company that was near bankruptcy and had a lot of issues, called Chekigori. And they said, well, we heard you're good at fixing companies and things. We would like you to go and fix this film company, if you would. So I'm introduced to Vittorio Chekigori, who's the biggest producer in Italy ever, and has done 150 movies, won 4 Oscars. And then I thought, okay, well, this could be maybe, a path into that film world that I wanted to be at from the extension, mustache days. And I said, okay, screw it, I'm doing it. Against the will of my ex-wife and my doctor and my therapist, and everybody says, don't go into another fixing thing, because look what happened last time. But
yeah,
I do. And then, in doing so, I ended up, turning this company around. And in the first month, in doing it, I find this contract from 1989 between Chekigori, the company, because they had done like 7, and they had done a lot, Shawshank Redemption. They had done a lot of movies in America. They had put $150 million into.
They did Shawshank, wow.
Yeah, they financed it. And they financed a whole bunch of things, because one of the partners was Silvio Berlusconi, which was the Prime Minister of Italy and all that. Okay. It was a big company, big people. But I found a contract from 1989 between Martin Scorsese and Chekigori of this book called Silence by Shusaku Endo, which is a brilliant book that I cared actually to read it when I found it. And I thought, okay, fuck it. I'm going to call Scorsese. And my assistant said, you can't just call Scorsese. I said, why not? And so I thought, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
And I called Sikilia, which is his production company. He had an office over at the DGA in New York. And I call up, and as expected, I get an assistant that says, he's not available, but can I take a message? And I say, yeah, it's about Silence. And that's it. Literally the next day, we have Mr. Scorsese for you on the phone. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Because this is UCLA extension, film dream, like my idol. And now I got Scorsese on the phone. And I'm talking to him, and it's very pleasant. And he says, what is it? And I said, well, you have this thing, and you're trying to do it with Graham King, and you were trying to do it with other people, but we actually hold the rights, but I would love to try and do it. He goes, when can you be in New York? And I said, tomorrow. And I ended up 3 days later sitting with Marty. And I'm thinking, I'm not worthy. And he's like, just couldn't be more generous and more amazing, and showed me drawings and his ideas for the movie. And I thought, okay, fuck it, let's try. And so then I went to work and had to learn the hard way what Hollywood is about and production is about and how many obstacles you have to go through. But we actually got it done.
You got it done. Silence.
We got Silence done, yeah. It was about the hardest thing I've ever done, but also by far the most gratifying. I mean, seeing that come together and how this town, when people really want something, when it happens, it was brilliant.
Amazing. And then that was a 2-picture deal?
Yes, it became a 2-picture deal because there was, as always, there's litigation, right? There was issues because a movie maker like Scorsese and others at that level, they have multiple deals, and they're usually tied in, years ahead and whatnot. And then, of course, there's the interest of agents and lawyers that might be different than
all this Hollywood
than what you do, right? And whatever I had. And the tricky part is, of course, navigating that, knowing that this is what the filmmaker wants, but this is the reality of the business, right? And this is like, okay, this is a $51 million budget independent movie at the time. We broke a record for independent to getting that done on budget, on time, and whatnot, against a lot of odds. So I'm extremely proud of the people that we put together to get that done, and having Liam Neeson and Adam Driver and Andrew Garfield. And this was a very difficult production in Taiwan. It's a period piece. It's 1600s, and it's Scorsese, who sometimes can go over budget a bit, you know, and be a little late.
Yeah.
And so we had to really, you know, massage it, but it's just incredible.
Yeah.
Everybody working for scale.
Amazing.
Marty had a vision for this movie that was sensational. And then via lawyers and things and whatever we did, it was a 2-picture settlement that we made. And that turned into then The Irishman, which is, we try to lift it with the original people that were on Silence, but the budget was just too big, like way too big for it to be an independent feature. And there was no studio here that really could take it on for distribution, because it didn't make sense when they ran the algorithms. It just didn't.
So Netflix.
So they came and wrote a $160 million check.
Wow. And that instant distribution, you know, there's something to be said for that. We'll see how it goes, but I mean, the movie's phenomenal.
Yeah, you know, Craig, what I'll say is that, because there's a lot of debate right now about that.
Yeah.
Like, why, okay, is it ruining the theaters and all that? But I will tell you, that movie would never have been made without Netflix. Never.
Wow.
And there's a whole lot of movies right now that are being made that wouldn't have been without Netflix. And their ability to go in and say, we're doing it, and they're doing it often on artists' terms, like what artists wants. And that's the strength of it, and it's an important one.
That's great that they get to make Martin's vision for that.
Yeah, there's no chance. I mean, and De Niro's vision, because it was equally.
That's right. That's true.
De Niro actually had the vision.
The driving force behind that one, right? Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah,
and my role in it is like this big. I did this much. I mean, De Niro did, and everybody else. I mean, that's a whole other level. And I would say I'm not worthy, because it's just incredible vision by De Niro. Actually, I feel.
Yeah,
and he deserves a lot of accolades for that.
Yeah, and so you're now working on producing a movie on Enzo Ferrari's life story.
Yes.
That's
I'm working with Michael Mann, who's another brilliant filmmaker, a genius at his craft. Also an incredible writer, by the way. So the Chegigori companies also owned the Enzo Ferrari biopic, written by Brock Yates, who, by the way, coincidentally was the inventor of the Cannonball Run.
Oh, no kidding.
Whose wife I'm very, very good friends with now. And he spent 3 months with Enzo Ferrari, interviewing him and really getting in on that whole life.
Oh, yeah.
Which is an insane life, like unbelievable. It's more like, we pitch it as like not a racing movie. It's a Godfather movie with racing in it, because that's Enzo Ferrari. I mean, in Italy at the time, he was bigger than the Pope, like literally.
Wow.
Like the Pope had to come and visit Enzo, not the other way around.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and we had a couple of scripts that Chegigori had commissioned, or brilliant, by Troy Kennedy Martin and Dave Rayfield, who did 3 Days of the Condor and The Italian Job. And Michael Mann has now merged those two scripts and rewritten it in a beautiful way. And we have, knock on wood, we have Hugh Jackman still that wants to play the lead. And
wow.
He films brilliantly in it. And
yeah,
fingers crossed. We're 8 million short still, but we'll get there. You got some? You got a little?
Let me see if I can sell that Panerai I got.
Yeah, would you?
Real, then
if it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it's what we're working on now, and then I still dabble in the fashion business, because once you're in the fashion business, you can't let it go ever.
Yeah.
I love it, and I still do some brands and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever see the mustache coming back? I think we need to answer that question before we sign off here.
If it didn't work for Lyft, maybe it wouldn't work for me either. I don't know, Craig.
Awareness is everything. So.
I don't know. I don't know. I'll try. I'll think about it. I will consider it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Niels, thanks for being on the show, man.
Oh, it's such a
Thanks for
pleasure.
sharing these
You're
stories.
an inspiration anyway, so it's really lovely to be with you anyway. So.
Thanks so much for watching. If you want to hear a story that's even wilder than that one, click here. You only have 5 seconds though. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!